Hey everybody, this is Dr. Jesse Jackson back for our third video here, and that is about how do we go about improving these classroom management practices. Now, as we say, we can help people be better at managing the classroom, i.e. managing people, i.e. being able to manage yourself and to develop your confidence and your presence. These are the 4 C's that I believe are the most vital components to doing that. Number 1 is Hey everybody, Dr. Jackson back. This is for video 3, and we're talking about how to improve our classroom management practices. Classroom management is something that you can grow and develop in. It's something that for a lot of us we have to learn how to do and practice at and get better. Here are the 4 C's, the components that put together a magic formula for classroom management. Now, we said in our last video that knowing your content and knowing what you are there to present to the student is a key pillar at being successful as a teacher. What we find, unfortunately, is so many teachers are boring, and they are under the belief that it's okay for them to be boring, and it's just absolutely not. So you got to get more proficient at your content and make sure you are having something that good to say that people want to listen to. And when you do that, these 4 C's then can really work for you. Number 1, so now then you need to be consistent. Being consistent. What we find is that so many teachers struggle because they cannot enforce their own rules. You can't enforce your own expectation. So what we'll see, a school has great rules in place, but we find that 70% of the school is doing it and 30% is not. And what that does, that inconsistency creates havoc around the building, because you'll have to use your class time to get a kid back settled down or to get a kid back acclimated to the school rules, because the class they just left are not enforcing them. There's no rules in there. Why? Because you see, number 3, the person doesn't like to confront. A lot of people I find are very uncomfortable with confrontation, however, because they think confrontation is negative. Confrontation is simply standing up for yourself, and it is an act of love. It's showing love for oneself and then love for the person who you're confronting. It is an attempt to preserve a relationship of value. When people don't confront each other, you don't help the situation. Conflict is negative. Confrontation is love. And so to stop a student whose behavior is wrong is an act of love. To be able to confront a student and tell them, you can't talk to me that way. You can't just blurt out in my class. We don't use cell phones in here. And to not confront a student on those things, it makes you a part of the problem. And a lot of times, once you get to a place where you're tired of the kid or scared of the kid and you're unwilling to confront, you have just now become a part of the problem. Number 2, communication. Communication is a two-way thing, and a two-way thing calls for listening and talking. The teacher's good at what? Talking. The teacher's good at talking. And so what this type of kid, and this kid is telling you, I'm not used to being heard. My voice is not being heard. This is why you get interrupted so much. A lot of times what people don't understand is when you're dealing with neglect or a neglect population, a neglect population acts a certain way. They act attention starved. There's a need to be heard, a need to interrupt. Now notice this, they snap out of the stupid, a lot of times the stupidness, when they get one-on-one. They get down to a principal's office, they get one-on-one. They get down to a dean's office, they get one-on-one. They get one-on-one with you, they act differently. And so what is that telling you? This kid, these are signs of neglect. This is what neglect looks like played out in a classroom. We're calling it behavior, but a neglect, these are issues that come from somewhere else. And so a lot of times when we're trying to just get the kid out of the class, we're not really understanding what's really wrong with the guy. And this is why our behavior chart, when we look at those behaviors, are the ones we can work with, we can try to work with a kid on, and the ones we can't, it's very clear. Don't kick them out is the best thing in this business about classroom management and dealing with behavior, because it's actually talking about behavior. It's telling you where this behavior is coming from. It's telling you and making the teacher aware you didn't cause it. So if you didn't cause it, you can't get offended by it. You have to understand, listen, we're going to try to work with children. there is a line, and you have to know what that line is. And that's what we drew in Don't Kick Them Out. We said there's certain things we're not going to be able to tolerate and be able to work with you. And now what I notice is from looking at handbooks around the nation, you'll see the behaviors I pointed out are the tier 4 behaviors. Okay, fighting, bringing weapons, bringing knives. Okay, if that is the case and that you can't do that, then let's be consistent with our own rules then. Because what I find, this is what I find. You'll have folks who will not stay with our own rules. And then then they'll get mad at the kid because as an institution, we did not enforce our own rules. And it becomes our job, our responsibility to enforce the rules that we set up for us. The rules are there to keep us safe. If the rule is bad, be smart enough to change it. Be smart enough to sit down and say, let's take this one out, let's adjust it, and let's make this a rule for what does work. And last but not least, most important to see is confidence. And you got to keep your confidence intact. And what happens is when people take things personally, when people think that they're the problem or that they're not being successful with the student, they take it personally. They believe the things that went on or that are going on, it's the kids getting mad at me, and I'm just tired of this. And when that is the case, we're going to always lose. Your confidence must stay intact. You're not going to be able to teach and have any presence in a classroom with broken confidence. These are the 4 C's that I know work. If they're done consistently and make sure you're staying on top of them, you're going to experience success in managing your classroom. I'm Dr. Jackson, hoping these things are helping. I'm going to see you in the next video. Thanks a lot.